cemetery. I will fight, never wary, I wanna be legendary. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I will fight, never wary, I wanna be legendary. I'll be last place, that's alright, I don't work at a fast pace. I'm a steady horse creeping up straight past it. And once I pass you, no one's getting past me. I see people hit walls when they stop there. I don't get that.
And here we have him, good things take time. Dean Rice, how are you, mate? How's things?
Good, mate, how are you?
Good, good.
Ricey, or do we call you Special Fried still these days?
No, that's the old days.
That was the old days?
Call me Ricey or Dean.
Yeah.
Rex Hunt gave you that nickname, didn't he?
Yeah, actually, there's a story of that too. When
Really?
the '95 Grand Final parade, we're going down the Swanston Street, whatever they call it, the road walk or mall, whatever it is.
Swanston Walk, I think they used to call it.
Yeah, and we're there, and there's a group of about 10 to 15 guys with all special fried rice.
Really?
Yes. I should have stopped and grabbed one as a souvenir. Yeah,
you should have. Yeah. Oh well, that's great.
Yeah,
no, it's
so
great to see you.
Yeah,
good to see you
we
guys.
do the big Legends of the Jumper Punch.
Yep.
And you are a legend of the Carlton Football Club, mate. If you win a premiership, that it's only like a small percentage of people that win a premiership. So, so you started. Now, first of all, your uncle was captain of Geelong.
Yes. Yep. He captained them in the, I think in the 50s.
What was his name? Colin?
Colin Rice. He played in their last. I was going to say their last, but they've won.
Yeah, they won. But 63.
Yeah, 63. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gee, was that 60 years ago?
Yes. Yeah,
Is he still around?
Still alive. Yeah.
Is he?
Oh, that's
Dad's
good.
still alive. Yeah. So.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So good with genes.
Were you a Geelong supporter?
No, I was a St Kilda supporter.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So you ended up going there?
Yes, I was there.
Now, can I ask you one thing? Did you ever have yourself psychologically checked as to why you became a St Kilda supporter? I mean, it's not exactly a club that's enjoyed a lot of success.
No, I'm on mum's side. So mum used to be a St Kilda supporter. Mum's dad used to be a St Kilda supporter. So they influenced me. Yeah.
But you did under 19s for Geelong?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. How'd that go?
Yeah, it was an interesting year. I was pretty immature back then.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And I was living down there in a house with guys like Gary Hocking. So Gary and Hocking started the same time as I did. And
He was a fair player.
he was a fair player. And,
Was he a Carlton supporter? I think he was a Carlton supporter, wasn't he?
I don't know. But we did some silly stuff down there.
I can imagine.
Got in a bit of trouble, and coming into that year, they decided they needed to get rid of one of us, so they decided to get rid of me.
Oh, really? That would happen.
Gary, in the end, he played 300 games and a few best of friends. So I think it was a good choice in there.
Fair
Did
play.
all right. He changed his name too to Whiskers.
He did, yes.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Why didn't you change yours to Special Fried Rice?
I reckon if they paid you, you would have done it. Yeah.
Should have done a deal with the rice company.
Yeah, that's it.
Sunrise or whatever they call it.
100%.
That's it.
Oh, well.
And then you went to and then St Kilda. You tried out for St Kilda.
Yeah.
And that was you just told us that was your you followed St Kilda. So was it a little bit of a dream?
Yeah, it was.
Or were you thinking,
I was pretty immature, pretty vague about things back in those days. I just accepted and
Just a young teenager?
Thought it was just all part of it. And it's interesting because when I got invited to St Kilda, I wasn't going to go. I'd had enough of footy, and I was just wanting to play local footy because before I went to Geelong, I played a year in a little town called Longwood up in the Benalla District Football League.
Oh, that's right.
And my brother was the coach, and my two other brothers played in the same team. So it was the only time we ever played together, and I wanted to go back and play that.
And you had a ball?
Yeah, that was great. I was 16, 17, playing senior footy in a small country town. I was like I was a big hero of the town.
Big fish in a small pond.
Yeah, so, and I wasn't going, and then my oldest brother, who coached me at Longwood, grabbed me aside. He was in the army. He ended up being a colonel in the army, and grabbed me and said, "Look, if you last 4 weeks in the pre-season, I'll guarantee you'll make it." And I'm thinking, I'll do 4 weeks and see how I go. So I did 4 weeks and ended up making it.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I can thank him for my AFL career.
And you
But I don't tell him that because he's got a big
Yeah,
head.
he's going to be into it.
Yeah.
Sliding doors, eh?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
Wow.
definitely. Yeah.
Otherwise, you might not have even played at AFL level at all.
No, I was content to just go play country footy.
Yeah.
And so when you started at St Kilda, you very quickly established yourself there on a wing, predominantly, wearing the number 37 Guernsey
Yeah,
from
you
memory.
did too,
Yeah,
37.
yeah.
And that red-haired kid on the wing that was pretty solidly built used to get the ball a bit. You could mark quite strongly. And
Yep.
you were surprisingly quick too for your size.
Yeah, my first year there, I actually played 20 of the 22 games.
Yeah.
So played the first game of the 1987 season against my old team, Geelong,
Yeah.
out at Moorabbin, and got cleaned up in the first quarter. And
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember that, but I do remember it. But
Do you remember who cleaned you up?
yeah, I do. It was, I can't remember, his name was White. He was a young guy that I
Okay.
played under 19s with at Geelong. So. And then, I was in and out of the team for the first 4 rounds and then played every game after that.
And your coach at the time?
Sorry?
Your coach at the time was?
Daryl Baldock.
How was he?
Was.
What was he like?
Yeah, Daryl, he was a father figure to me. So he knew my dad pretty well because my dad was a journalist
Yes.
and he wrote for the Sporting Globe and the Sunday Press. So he was
Okay.
he used to report on the football. So he knew Dad, and
So he would have been an iconic figure to you, being a St Kilda supporter. Daryl Baldock, you don't get too many bigger names at St Kilda than
to be
Daryl
honest, he
Baldock.
was actually before I started because he
That's what I mean. He
He
was-
finished in the early 70s.
Yeah.
When I was only about 3 or 4.
Yeah, but what I mean is, as a St Kilda supporter, you would look back on the
Yeah.
'66 premiership and
Yeah, as
all of that.
as a player,
Yeah.
you look back and think, he's a legend of the club.
Yeah,
and
that's what I mean.
what a
Yeah.
great person to have at the club at the time. And like his first year there, he created some success at the club.
Yes, he
We
did.
won 5 in a row.
'87 was a good year for St Kilda.
And he ended up having a stroke
Yes,
at
that's
the
right.
end of '87, where his last 4 games he didn't coach Alan Davis.
That's
He
right.
was assistant coach, so
Yeah.
we sort of fell away towards the end. But if he coached, we probably would have made finals that year. 'Cause we had 5 in a row and we're travelling pretty well.
Interestingly enough, you had a lot of ex-Carlton players that went to
We
St
did,
Kilda
yeah.
in those
Yeah, you did too.
in
Yeah,
those years
yeah.
of '86, '87. You had Kenny Sheldon and Alex Marcoux,
Yeah.
Spiro Corkamielis,
Yes.
Warren Jones, Peter McConville,
Yeah, Ricky Nixon.
Ricky Nixon,
Ricky Nixon coming
Ian
up.
Muller.
Yeah, no, there was a few there.
There was a lot of them.
Yes. Yeah, I reckon.
Did you get along well with all of those
Yeah, I
guys?
did. Yeah, actually, Kenny Sheldon. My first ever interstate trip was a pre-season game in '87 against Brisbane because Brisbane just came in.
Yes, Brisbane
yes,
and West Coast came.
Came
Yeah,
in
that's
that
right.
year and
Both
playing
of
a
them.
scratch match up on the Gold Coast.
Yep.
And I was in the same room as Bomber. And Bomber used to love to party a bit. So on the night before the game,
No,
he
surely not.
had me.
One of the mosquito fleas? A party boy? No,
Had
couldn't
me
possibly
and a couple
imagine
other
that.
players, and we went down to the nightclub downstairs, and we had a few drinks at the nightclub
That,
on Friday. It's
that
a
was-
great influence for an 18-year-old kid.
That was pretty
yeah.
famous, that nightclub, wasn't it? Downstairs.
Oh, at St Kilda.
Yeah.
No, this is up on the Gold Coast.
Oh, this is the Gold Coast. Oh, yeah, you were
hotel,
just saying.
they had
Yeah.
a bar and
Oh,
sort of
okay.
a nightclub downstairs, and we actually went down there. We didn't go late, but we had a few drinks, and so that was my introduction.
I'm
to
sure all
senior
of the
footy.
boys, when they heard about a practice match on the Gold Coast, they'd say, yeah, I'll go
yeah,
with
we'll
that.
go with that.
So that was my introduction to senior footy.
Wow.
Yeah. How was your first game that you played? You run out on the. How's that feel like? Is it? I don't know.
You remember your first game of footy?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I played because they used to have the night series before, and
Yes.
I played in the night series, which
Yep.
is in front of 10 to 12,000 people
Yeah,
at Waverley.
Waverley, yeah.
And I remember I couldn't sleep the night before. Of that.
imagine, yeah.
I was pretty nervous and that type of thing, and then it goes another level when you're playing, your first round in the home and away series and at Moorabbin in front of 20, 30,000 people. And Moorabbin was a place where it just used to rock. The
Oh, yeah,
South
yeah.
Really well. So
Those suburban grounds were.
Oh, yeah.
Always grounds, yeah.
Did you ever see on a morning after we had about 3 inches of rain the night before, there was a guy still watering the grounds
I
at
heard the
Moorabbin?
stories. I heard the stories, but that was before my time. So.
They used to love making it a big mud pit, didn't they?
They weren't successful, so they tried to even the teams
Even
out.
the teams up by making it a
muddy.
bog.
Yeah.
So you remember running out like
The
in
big
front of
ball.
a crowd?
Yeah.
How do you feel? Like, is it?
Oh,
do you
it's
feel
just-
like you made it? Like,
No, you're just really nervous, and hopefully you don't.
Stuff
You
up.
don't stuff up and make mistakes and you embarrass yourself.
do you remember your first Possession? I know it's. I know.
Nah, I don't actually.
What about first goal?
I don't know.
First goal.
No.
Normally they remember their first goal. Yeah.
That's interesting. But it was obviously in front of a home crowd at Moorabbin.
Yeah,
so it was
Moorabbin,
pretty
Did you win?
positive
No, we lost by
environment.
3 points.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Who was that to? Geelong?
Geelong, yeah.
Your other team that you could have played for.
Yeah, no. So,
But it was a good year. Like, I think in '87, St Kilda blooded a lot of players that ended up being very, very good players, like Stuart Lowe, I think Robert Harvey,
Nathan
guys
Burke.
like that, Nathan Burke. They all basically debuted that year, didn't
yeah,
they?
Nicky Wimmer.
Wimmer as well.
He played the first.
So-
we debuted on the same
He had
day.
some good
Sign of
players.
things to come, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
so definitely those couple of years. Robert Harvey was the year after, in
Was he?
'88. Yeah.
I thought he started '87.
No, he's '88.
Okay.
He was a good player.
Yeah, and so obviously they were, the foundations of some of their legends of their club. Yeah.
Not hard to see why they actually made finals in the early '90s when you were still there.
Oh,
I think Kenny Sheldon took over at that stage.
the players that we had, and the reason we probably weren't successful in those days is because we didn't have the experience of playing finals footy. But
Yeah.
I remember our first final game was '91 out at Waverley against Geelong,
I was there. I
and it was the
remember.
old system where it used to be a 6,
Yep.
and third played fourth,
Yes.
Yes.
and the loser got knocked out, and the third went
Yeah,
straight.
I
And
know.
the winner went straight to the second
It was
semi-final.
a, it was a
Yeah.
narrow loss. I
Oh,
think you were third on the ladder, weren't you? And you
yeah,
played
we were
sixth.
fourth. We were playing
Oh,
fourth. No, it was third versus fourth. They were third, we were fourth.
Oh, right.
And we led them by 5 goals at half time. And we'd beaten Hawthorn twice during the year of that year. Hawthorn went and won the
It was a
premiership.
crazy final system
Yeah.
back then, wasn't
And
it?
if we won that game, we'd have gone straight to second semi.
That's right.
And we
Who
would have-
knows?
and we'd have had, who knows what
It
would
was
happen.
too much of a penalty for a side that finished so high up on the ladder.
What year was this?
91, wasn't it?
91. Oh,
Yeah.
91. That's Hawthorn.
And that's when
one of that,
Hawthorn
yeah.
ended up beating West Coast in the grand
Grand final
final
out at Waverley.
at
But
Waverley.
the players we had playing then, like, there was a lot of 200, 300 game players.
At the end
in
of
that
it,
side.
yeah.
So the side we had, we probably should have been more successful.
Yeah. So that was 91. You had a fair, but now, when did you get your first serious knee injury?
It was 92.
92 the next year.
Pre-season game against Geelong again.
jeez.
At Waverley.
Almost like
Yeah.
Mate,
bloody bad luck to it,
It
aren't they?
is. It's funny. My last game for St Kilda was against Geelong.
so that was the ACL, huh? That was the big one?
yeah.
That was the first one.
Yeah.
Was that a left or right knee?
Right knee.
Right knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did that. And then how does
Do you
that...
remember how it happened?
Yeah, I was out at Waverley. Pre-season game in '92, and Gary Hockey, the guy I live with,
Whiskers
came
himself.
across my knee. I was trying to kick the ball, and I tried to kick it around the corner to get it towards
Yeah.
up the ground, towards the boundary,
Yeah.
and he came across my knee, and my knee flipped around him like that, and
Yeah.
Did
my
you know
lateral
straight
ligament.
away that it was gone?
No, I didn't know. I'd never been injured. Like,
Right.
up to then, I played 100 games straight.
Yeah.
I had never had an injury.
What does it feel like to do your ACL? Like,
Well, I didn't know at the time. I actually ran off the ground. And
Well, they often
the doctors
do.
and the physios at St Kilda then looked at it and said, look, it doesn't look too bad, or maybe 4 to 6 weeks. And I'm thinking, okay, it's pre-season, I'll be right for round 1, blah, blah, blah. And he said, but we go and see the specialist anyway. The next day, go into his rooms, he's had one look at it, and looked
You've
at me and
ruptured
said,
your ACL.
I'll book you into the hospital tomorrow. I'm thinking,
God.
what does it mean? I said, what, 4 to 6? He goes, no, you're not playing this year. And I was, what was I? At the time?
Devastated.
I was
And back in those
24.
days,
Yeah, 24.
back in those days,
I was
there
pretty
wasn't any of that special treatment where you could come back in, 2 months or something like David
Nah, it
Schwartz.
was
used
at
and
that
all
time when
I can't remember the
it was
name
in
of it,
between with the old days where you get your knee, you finish your career,
Yeah.
and it was that players were coming back from the injury. So, but it used to be a 12 months process. So,
Yep.
and a lot of them weren't successful coming back. So at the time, I thought, oh shit, that's the end of my career.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And
Tell me,
how...
and before we go on to the next
Yeah.
one, do these knee injuries take a toll on you now? I mean, you're in your mid-50s now, so
Yeah,
do you
it
get
does.
sore knees and ankles?
My knee's
and-
okay, but it's more because you try and compensate your body for your injury. It's
Right.
the other parts of your body. My
Yeah,
left
that's what I
side, my
heard,
hip,
yeah.
my left hip,
Right.
my lower back, all that sort of stuff
Right.
plays up a bit.
Sorry, Rocker.
But that's old age too.
That's old age.
Let's be serious
Yeah, I'm
here.
really done.
Well,
I'm in my
Oh,
mid-50s too.
You know when you're doing your recovery after that for that year, how disheartening is it? Like, do you go through stages where you think, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah, it's when I first did it, and the doctor told me that you're not playing for 12 months. It was pretty shitty. I thought then that was it. But when you get into it, I never really had any doubts that I'd make it back.
That's
Okay.
good.
Yeah, so I just again.
But you
I
know
was
you've got to do it anyway. Whether you're going to play football or not is almost irrelevant. You've still got to go through the rehabilitation, don't you?
to walk again.
To walk again,
and
to
all
walk
that
Again.
stuff,
Yeah, but you have to go for the full. If you're not going to play footy, you don't have to go for that.
I know, but while you're doing that, you might as well get into it again,
Yeah,
and all of a
okay.
sudden you start seeing that, hey, the light at the end of the tunnel's coming.
Yeah,
and
so
So you got back in. Then that was at the end. So in 90. Well, you came to Carlton 94, didn't
94,
you?
so-
93, you would go back to St Kilda.
I went back and came back and played, I think 11 or 12 games of that season.
Yep.
Played in the Nicky Winmar game at Collingwood.
Oh.
That was my first game back, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I missed.
Where he lifts up the top.
Yeah, just up the top, yeah. So
Well, the Collingwood fans would have given you a nice reception. And
Yeah, they
welcomed
would have
you
loved
back to
That
AFL
was the days
football.
when they had the medal races going in underneath the.
You had to walk underneath the middle races.
They'd actually spit on you.
Yeah.
They'd spit down the race on top of you.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, yeah, those days.
Well, it's hardly surprising. I mean, half of them are out on parole and half of them are out on bail.
But yeah, I played 11 games and we started the season really well in 93.
Yeah.
St Kilda played finals again in 92. There was an expectation, and then we started to fall away. And obviously, there was a bit of pressure around the club and things were happening. And, Kenny was coaching at the time. He was under a bit of pressure, and I had a bit of a falling out with Kenny and didn't play a game again.
Did you do your other knee too?
Yeah, in a pre-season game in 94.
In
That wasn't
94.
as severe though, was it?
No. So, the end of 93, Kenny got sacked from St Kilda. Stan Owls had taken over. Stan was actually the fitness coach under Ken for 2 years prior to him getting the job.
Fitness coach.
Yeah, it was.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was. And my contract had finished at the end of 93, and there was negotiations. My brother was actually my manager at the time, and there was negotiations, and they.
Was he good? Was he a good negotiator, your brother?
Oh, he's pretty firm. He's an officer, so he doesn't.
Listen, he's not just fried rice; he's special fried rice.
So I stood out of training for a bit in pre-season in '94, and because they wouldn't sign me up to a contract. And I said, if I get injured, I'm not covered. So we signed an injury indemnity form back in those days. So if I got injured, I'd be covered for some sort of payment.
Yep.
And I don't think Stan really liked that. And then I came back after signing that. Did the rest of the pre-season, played a practice game again down at Koroit against Essendon.
Whereabouts?
Down at Koroit.
Koroit?
Yeah, outside
That's
Warrnall.
Adrian Gleeson territory up near
Played a
Warrnambool.
pracky match down
Wow.
there and hurt my good knee in a pracky match. And I thought again, actually after that game I was in tears because I was thinking, oh, here we go again type of thing. But the report come back that it wasn't severe. It was only a 4-week injury, and you'd be right, no operation. Just strained it and stuff like that. So I thought, okay, all good. And then coming to training after that game, not getting that news, thinking, I'm pretty positive. I'll get myself back. And Stan said to me, come here. I'm going up to the gym upstairs. Come here. I want to have a chat to you.
He get you into the office, did he?
No, not in the office. In the boot stadium. He got me in there and goes, we've been told you're out for 16 to 18 weeks and we can't afford to carry you. We're going to let you go. I looked at him going, what? I said, I'm only out for 4 weeks. He goes, no, that's not what we've been told. Not what we've been told. We can't afford to carry you.
Wow.
Grab your boots and we'll see you later. That was it. I played 116 games at the club and that's the way I got told to leave.
And you left that.
That's straight away.
And that's
Never
it.
come back. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No mercy, huh?
No mercy. Then about 2 weeks later, I get a bill in the mail from St Kilda saying you owe us $4,000 for boots, shorts, club uniform.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Did you pay it?
No.
That is unreal. You're joking. After like, how many years did you play there?
7 years.
7 years. They
100
dare send you a bill.
Yep.
That is
Because at the time, because I signed the injury indemnity form, I was claiming payment.
Yeah.
And as a payment, they said, okay, we're going to deduct this money off you.
That is unreal, isn't it? That is the best.
But then back in those days, it was the old pre-season draft. So they used to have a draft in March for all the listed players.
Yep.
And that's when I got picked up my car.
Yeah. So did you? How did you find out? Did they approach you, or was there any sort of?
Yeah, no. I approached my brother, and we went and had a chat with him. There was David Parkin, Cole Kinnear, Jeff Walsh was at the club at the time.
Oh,
He
yeah,
was
yeah.
assistant footy manager.
Yep.
Yeah. So we all sat around the table and
It's amazing how good people are around your football club when you
Yes.
win premierships.
100%.
What'd they say?
Especially,
And you said that-
especially in leadership positions.
Parker said to me he was at a game where I played against Geelong again
Yeah.
down at Kinnear Park. I think it was about 88, 89. I got cleaned up by Mark Yates, got
Yeah.
taken to hospital, and then I fronted up again the next week. And he said to me, he goes, "I've always thought of that game and the bravery you showed that if I ever had a chance to coach you, I'd love to coach you."
Wow.
And that's the reason I went
How's
to
that for a vote of confidence?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so,
Look how things work out, huh?
yeah.
So they pick you up, and how do you feel then? Like, mate, I've just been picked up. And did you think like Carlton had a good chance of doing something?
Well, you didn't
Because we
play
just
straight
played-
away though, did you? I mean,
No,
I think
no.
your first game for Carlton was
Yeah,
around
so I
about
was recovering from that
round
knee
eight.
injury. No, I was recovering from that knee injury.
Yep.
So I missed the first game
Yeah.
of 1994.
1994.
Yep.
Yeah, but then I played the next week in the twos.
Was it?
So I played
in
about
the
four
twos.
or
Yeah.
five weeks in the
Yeah.
twos.
Yeah.
And
Got some form up.
got some form and confidence, and
I think you played round 8 for Carlton
yeah, against Richmond.
against Richmond.
I'll never forget
You
it.
started
Because I
well.
was shattered as soon as that second quarter started.
But before that,
you actually
mate,
kicked a nice goal before that.
before
Yeah,
that, mate,
I was playing
two
out of
great
a-
leads, mate. I'm telling you, he took some mark. He took your first goal.
Yeah,
You want to tell you
It was
about
a
it?
beauty.
I remember it actually.
Tell us about it. Because
I think I was outside 50.
you were
Turned around,
too.
I actually don't think I was going for goal. I just turned around and went for those to a pack. And
It was a
carry. And went
mate.
to the
What
back.
a kick, man! I'm
Yeah.
telling you, and it
Yeah.
went through, man. Must have felt on top of the world.
No,
yeah.
I was actually playing out. That saved my career, really.
Yeah.
That first quarter and a half that I was playing showed signs that the club wanted me, and
Yeah.
I think that was a sign of things to come. That was a good omen that, you know,
Yeah.
you were going to have some success at Carlton.
yeah, and like at the time when I did it, I thought then that was it. I thought, I think there's a video of me sitting on the bench before half time, just with tears coming out of my eyes,
Yeah.
thinking that was the end of my career. But Parko came in at half time and saw me and just sort of tapped me on the head and said, "Don't worry, you're here for a long time, so get yourself right."
How's that?
And that's all
How's
I
that
meant.
for reassurance?
Yeah.
What a great man David Parkin is, eh?
Yeah, 100%.
Just turned
Yeah.
80 years of age last year, so, you know, treasure him for every,
that's a
every day
smart-
that he's with us.
That's a smart operator.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
That's a smart
But
operator.
that's someone who knows how to instill belief into his players and make them want to go through brick walls for him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
enjoyed your days under Parko? I mean, you would have been with him for a good 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, like Parko to me, again, was our father figure. Parko had a unique ability that, like, he wanted the best out of you from a footy point of view, but he also wanted the best out of you from a
Yes,
from
with
a
you.
life point of view. You know, so
Yeah,
he's always
yeah.
interested in what are you doing
What are you
outside
doing?
of footy. You know, he's come from an academic
Yes.
background as a lecturer and stuff
Yep.
like that. And
Yep.
So he always said, no, you got to get yourself involved in this. You can't be sitting around. You got to be doing this in your life.
He
So
wanted
when
you
you were
close
doing
to
your
the-
rehabilitation then with Carlton, were you assigned to do anything for Carlton, or was it just concentrating on
Just get yourself back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing like
Did you do any other work outside of that at the time, or were you
I was
just
working for
fully-
Regency.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, with Harry
Harry Marocchi at Regency Screens.
Yeah, so
He was a Carltonian back in the day when I was there.
So I was doing that for a couple of years. Yeah.
Very good. And I believe we were talking just off air before. You worked with a bloke called Peter Brown, who's
Yes.
part of our channel these days.
He was a sales rep at Regency.
Yeah.
at the time.
He's a good fella.
Yeah, no.
He's a good fella. Premiership player.
Yes,
Very good player at the
1979.
time, yeah,
If you're
yeah.
watching, g'day Brownie.
Yeah, that's it.
So,
And then you get
interesting.
and then you get rehabilitation. Then you get into '95, yeah. So
Yeah.
'94, you're watching from the sidelines, yeah. And we have a fairly good year, and then get knocked out in the finals.
Well, that's because Ricey wasn't playing. So.
yeah. And
Is that what
just
you were thinking?
hey, one
If
of
I
those
was there,
one,
it might have been different.
No, I never thought like that. I was just
one of
worried
those
about getting
teams
myself
that
right.
kind of knocked us out was Geelong again.
I was just going to say, it's Geelong again.
Yeah, still on there.
Bloody Geelong.
Wait, but there's one more twist to that Geelong story.
That's true.
So we get there, and then you come into '95. So I've spoken to a few of the '95 Premiership players, right? So you get into '95. What's the feeling at the start of that year? Then do you feel
No, I
really
just-
part of it, or are you a little bit on the outside?
I'm sort of worried about getting myself back
Yeah,
and
yeah,
getting
yeah.
myself playing good footy. But there was a sense within the club that, the year 4 was a failure.
Yeah.
And as I said to you before, Carlton's culture back was second wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so there was a real sense around the club to knuckle down and work hard and
Make it happen this year.
make it happen. Yeah, because obviously on the back of '93 too, where they got beaten
That's right.
by Essendon in the grand final,
Yeah.
and then to drop out in straight sets in '94. There was a sense going around that we need to pull ourselves.
And there was
up.
this talk like from the outside, they're getting too old. This is the end. You got Williams, you got Bradley, you got like Sticks. They're all getting a bit too old. This is going to be too old. So there was that sense from the outside they were too old, but I'm sure that wasn't the belief within
No.
your club, of course.
No, and Parker had a unique ability. He really set the foundations and the pathway to leadership groups.
Yeah.
Out there.
He did, didn't he? Because he kind of gave you a little bit of responsibility.
100%. 95 was had a big leadership group, so he had about 12 or 13.
Just about every line there was leaders. Yeah.
So and they
halfback
drove
line,
drove the direction on the side. And I'll tell you a story. In '95, we got beaten by
Sydney and then St Kilda.
Twice. We lost 2 in a row. We won 7 in a row, and then lost 2 really bad games to 2 bottom teams.
Isn't that
Anyway.
when you came back into the side?
No, I came in prior to that. I came against Essendon.
Okay.
Yeah. So I played in a couple of winning games. Then
It's a bit unusual, those 2 losses in the middle of that great year.
and I remember Sticks decided, okay, we're throwing it out the door. Maybe Carlton can use it today.
Yeah.
Threw things out, so I said, we're going to have an old-fashioned pie night on the Tuesday night at training. Going to get a few
Was
beers
this after
out.
the 2 losses?
Yeah, after 2 losses.
Yeah.
Have a few beers, a few party pies and pies,
Yeah.
and
then
we
you
got
went
into
out
a
and-
room and had a few chats and a conversation.
Do you remember
and
what
then
happened the
won
week
16
after?
games in a row after
Yeah.
No, but do you remember the first game you played after that?
I can't remember.
After the pie night?
I think it's Hawthorn, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Beat them by over 100 points.
It was amazing. It's just sort of
There's something in those pies.
Was
I'm
there some
telling you.
truth said that day?
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was about
Being honest with each other.
and just saying, look, we won 7 in a row for a reason, Joe. We were a pretty good side.
Yeah, we won the first 7 games.
But it was just to release. It was just to release that the shackles, the pressure that was building around us because. Two bad losses to 2 bottom teams. Everyone was going, okay, they are too old.
And they were they were big losses too. They weren't like
60 and 70 points.
Yeah, St Kilda, I think only won 2 games a year, and they played by 50 points out of Waverley.
Didn't we only? Was that St Kilda game where we only kicked a goal, or that was another game, or was it?
No, we'd hardly scored.
We hardly
by
scored.
half-time.
Yeah.
Only by half time we hardly had a goal on the board. But
Yeah.
the ironic part about those 2 sides. Sydney made the grand final the year after, and St Kilda made the grand final 2 years after.
Yes.
So they were actually up
Way
and coming sides. But
Hey,
I
can we just go back a little bit? You know when you play your first game in '94, right?
the one where he did his knee.
Yeah.
knee again.
No, in '95. Sorry,
95.
95.
Yeah.
When you come back, you play that first game. What's
Yeah.
your mindset? Like, are you worried at all?
No.
Done.
Once
you're right,
once
you're
you
right.
do your first game, and when I was playing 2s,
You never go into into a contest thinking you can't. Can
when
you?
your first game and you go into that contest and there's nothing, then that's okay.
Yeah. All right, cool.
So, but the game, my first game back was exactly the same date as I
It
did.
was.
Yeah.
It was twice.
Friday the 13th, May the 13th, and then I played on the Saturday, May the 13th.
Friday the 13th. My goodness. You're taking a big chance there.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Then once you got your confidence, man, you just mate, there was nothing stopping you that year. You had a good year.
Yeah, and it's again, Parker instilled a belief in me and gave me the opportunity, and we just created. Out of the back of that pie night, we just created momentum and confidence and belief, and I told you before,
Camaraderie
the bond we had, and you can't do it these days, but we go out on weekends together, and we got to know each other really well, and we would walk over hot coals to each other.
Yeah, and I think that makes a huge difference because, I don't know, like on the ground then, if you're best mates, I mean, you do that extra yard for someone.
Yeah.
You go in and help your team, mate.
Yeah, you do, 100%.
Hey, what do you reckon was your most memorable moment in that year, 1995?
Take out the grand final for now, yeah.
Yeah, take out the grand final and during the season.
It was probably a game over at West Coast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's what I was thinking of.
Goals
You kicked 3 goals,
yeah. 2 goals for us.
Not only that, well, I mean, we beat the previous year's premiers on their home deck by a point.
Yeah.
And I think that getting over the line on that game was crucial to our mindset 100%. Going into the finals.
Yeah,
that was the game where I think Earl Spalding
cleaned up Guy McKenna. And I was on Guy McKenna at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I remember there was that ball that came in. I think Bradley might have kicked the ball in towards the forward line and it sort of bounced in front of the West Coast player and he tried to kick it in mid-air and he missed it altogether and it fell into your arms and then you kicked the
So he led you to the ball, right?
I think that was the goal that won the game.
Yeah.
So he led you to the ball, right?
Yeah.
He was doing the right thing.
But the indiscriminate kick wasn't the best.
No, instead of going for putting his body behind he tried to kick it
and it just fell into your arms,
You
must have thought my Christmases have come at once here.
Yeah, so...
But you know what?
Good game that day.
But you kicked the goal.
Yeah.
Like these days, they would have missed that goal, but you kicked the goal.
It was really hostile territory back in those days.
Was.
I mean, Subiaco was like a cauldron. I mean, they had a fortress there. They were almost unbeatable over there, West Coast at the time, and we knocked them over by a point. And
remember,
we never looked back after that.
Yeah, and they just won the premiership too.
Year before.
So they premiership. Yeah. So that was a unreal game. But you won that game. That was a huge game there.
Yeah. What about the finals? I mean. It was an interesting final series. We technically probably came up against the most difficult opponent of all, first up, against the Brisbane Bears, who made the finals for the very first time under Robert Walls.
And they had a bit of momentum going. They won a few games leading into it.
I mean, it was actually a bit touch and go that
early
game.
Days.
He did that last quarter.
Yeah. Kuda stood up for us again.
Yeah,
Parko, he's got an amazing way of making the right move at the right time.
Well, that's not a hard move.
No.
You get Kuda. Just look at him at the time, Kuda was killing it.
23 at the
No,
time.
I know.
Well, not even 22 he might have been.
Yeah, but he was killing it.
Yeah, I know. Well, he was the match winner in the end.
He was the match winner.
But that were nervous times. We got over the line there, and then I think after that, I think we played North in a second semi or a preliminary final.
It's funny.
We smashed them.
It's funny you talk about confidence and belief, and I talked to a couple of players at the time, and they had the same feeling. Is that we had the parade, the grand final parade, and then they actually went down Swanston Street and then come around, then went down the Yarra, and it was somewhere different, and it was in a marquee. Not like they have these days. And we got both teams up behind the coaches in front of the media and stuff like that. And we went up first, and then Geelong came in second. And I'm looking at them going, we've got these guys covered.
What made you think that?
I just think we just thought we got better players than they have.
We got better players.
It's just a self-belief.
It's
a confidence, not an arrogance.
Well, we didn't have any weaknesses in that time.
And I was talking to players as we were leaving. I think we've got them. They're going, we've got them. So we had a belief straight away.
And yet, we'd only played them once that year in a really tight game at Princes Park, where I think we got over the line by 3 points. I think Craig Bradley saved the day right on the line. I think there was a kick that was going through for goal. It would have put him in front, but he...
at Princes Park,
Princes Park, and I think he touched the ball just before it hit the line. So, that was a lucky win in the end, but that was the only time we played them during the year. So a 3-point win at home, but yet you had supreme confidence that you had them covered.
Yeah, you do, and that's what you create. And
I think
it's about momentum.
As a supporter, I was confident too.
I was confident.
I came in I went to that game thinking, we've got this.
I think we spoke to Mil Hanna recently where he said we learnt the lesson from the Essendon Grand Final. You didn't obviously play in that, but Essendon got off to a flying start in the 93 Grand Final, and so they were adamant that they had to get off to a good start in 95. The whole focus was this first quarter, we're going to go like crazy to make it a really good, strong quarter.
You think all teams say that? We did a good start.
Maybe, but I think having lost the grand final to Essendon 2 years earlier, some of them were thinking we can't let that happen again.
No, 100%.
Tell me something, inside the rooms before the game, what's said? Like, what's said between the players? Is there anything said?
It's just trying to keep it as routine as possibly can.
Yeah.
Really?
It's just, at the end of the day, it's another game for you. There's 100,000 people there.
Do you subscribe to the theory that some players get that, they're G'd up and they almost have played their game before they've even run out?
Yeah, 100%.
Really? Yeah.
Were you nervous?
Psychological.
I never really got nervous before games.
Even the grand final?
No, you're just going out there doing your job, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're doing something that you enjoy, you have a passion
Yeah, of
for.
course.
Yeah.
But, you know, reaching that pinnacle and you don't want to fail it, you know what I mean? This is your
There's
opportunity.
probably not nervousness, there's probably excitement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you can hear the crowd, you can hear all the music.
It is different
You can
from that
smell
point of
all
view.
the fireworks coming
Yeah.
through. So you can just, it's just more that anticipation type of thing. You know what I
So
mean?
when you're out onto the ground, that's your first grand final.
Yeah,
What does that feel like running out onto the
you
MCG?
just seeing the noise, the loud noise, the roar. You never experience that. You know what I mean? So you see all the people, but then after that, it's just into game
Into it.
mode, yeah.
So you're very focused.
Oh no,
What you
I
gotta
was
do.
never. I was just part of who I was.
Yeah.
I never thought about things too much.
Yeah,
I'm
no, it's
more
good. No, it's
laid back
interesting
type
how
person.
different players think about things. But it's good
Yeah.
you just went out there, played your
and just
game,
did your job,
do your job. And if everyone just does their job,
Yeah.
we should be right,
Yeah, 100%,
correct?
yeah.
Enjoy your day that day.
Oh yeah.
That's some
The
good
biggest
moments.
memory I have was obviously winning the grand final, receiving the cup, but then running around the ground with the cup
Yes.
and seeing all the spectators with tears in their eyes and the celebration they had was it's something that'll stay with you forever.
I mean, we were Raptors supporters that day because we'd had to wait all of 8 years since our previous match.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, you know,
now we've waited another 28
I
years
know,
and we're
it's
nowhere near it. But anyway,
that goal, you kicked the goal.
Good goal.
Oh, goal, yeah.
That was a good goal.
Yeah,
you
nice
sit
goal.
back, you took a mark, inside the 50, you went back.
Yeah, no.
It must delight you that I've got a goal on the board. I've actually got my name on the score.
Yeah, and I was getting into the game then. I had a pretty good second quarter.
Yeah,
and I think it kicked before that. I kicked out the Dini on the wing. It was a terrible kick.
Yeah, that's right. But he collected it,
He
actually.
collected it. He still lost space. So. And then I had the kick, so I was probably I can't remember, but thinking, okay, I've got to connect this one pretty well.
Yeah.
It came off pretty well.
How close was Fraser Brown from not playing that day?
I
Because
shouldn't have played.
he was pretty badly injured the week before, wasn't he?
Mate, his leg was terrible. And then
He was in that hyperbaric chamber with his ankle in there.
Yeah, he had it. That numbed up.
They reckon he could hardly kick the ball on his right foot.
Yeah, after half time.
Most of his kicks were on the left that day.
Yeah, he shouldn't have played. But he played.
But you know what? He was.
No, he did
so
all right,
concerned.
man. I'm telling you, he did all right that day.
That's Fraser though. That's Fraser's.
Do you remember
junkyard?
seeing?
His nickname was the junkyard dog.
Yeah, the junkyard dog. Yeah, that's right.
Do you remember seeing or talking to the guys that missed out that day, like
After the
Troy
grand final.
Bond,
After the
or
game.
Brent Heaver, and
He
guys
said they
like
were
that?
in tears after the game.
Yeah.
I don't think Troy ever came back.
No, he didn't. He just walked out and said, "I'm over. I'm going to Adelaide. Trade me."
He won a couple over.
He won a couple of premierships with them.
Yeah.
So he got his revenge, if you like. But Brent Heaver, I felt for more than him.
Yeah. And Adrian Gleeson.
And Adrian Gleeson was injured, I think.
Yeah.
Talk about being a coach, huh? Imagine trying to
Tease everybody.
I mean, they're the things you got to do. You got to tell players they're not
There's one
playing.
thing about coaching is that you can't keep everyone happy.
That's for sure.
There's always going to be someone upset.
Yeah,
true.
no, that's
That's
very,
true.
very
If you're
true.
trying to keep everyone happy, and then you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
Do you remember the post-premiership celebrations that year?
Oh yeah. It wrecked me for 2.
How long did they go for?
About 4 or 5 weeks. We actually obviously had the week.
Did you remember how to speak English after a week?
So it was the week. We had all the celebrations for the week after. The Sunday, then the Monday wake, and then we had the town hall where we got the keys to the city, and then there was the best and fairest from the Friday night after that, and then we all headed off to America on that weekend. The whole team went. Like 40.
Whereabouts in America did you go?
Went
Vegas?
to
or?
LA and Vegas.
LA and Vegas. That would have been a recipe for a nice quiet time.
Fraser Brown was the funniest because Fraser would turn up at the airport. He'd turn up with no luggage.
Really? No luggage.
Yeah, I can see that.
We go, what? He goes, oh no, I'll just buy it over there.
I'm telling you, he's absolutely right, man. You might as well just buy your stuff over there. Yeah.
And just leaves it, doesn't come back with it. Just buys it.
Tell you
just
one
sitting
thing
in
about
the
Fraser, he's done very, very well post-football, that's for sure. But,
Mate, what a week,
smart
you know,
guy.
or what a week or 2 weeks, man. You're the champions, and then you're with your mates, and you're just like, you're partying, laughing every day.
The time of your life.
Yeah.
So there's about 10 of us went on to Chicago and New Orleans.
Oh, nice.
wow.
Yeah, so Fraser was one
Chicago's
of those.
a-
Sauce was one of those, and Cooter and Ange and Brad Pierce and
Fantastic.
So we all went on to Chicago, and so we were over there for 4 weeks. So I came back, I was about 6 kilos overweight.
Only 6?
Yeah, so I struggled that pre-season in '96. So.
Was there a real resolve amongst the team to try and go back to back, or was it just sort of the expected thing that the coaches were always going to try and go back to back?
I think subconsciously there was a...
you lose a little bit,
yeah, because we achieved... because that group, and as you said, it was an older group, and they failed in '93, they had the fallout in '94, then achieving something. It was the sense of, we completed what we had
got a nice full tummy now. Don't have to eat quite so much.
But the side we had, we probably should have gone back to back.
Well, they all say
we actually got off to a really good start.
Yeah, we won the pre-season comp. Yeah, that year, and we just thought, how good's this? No one could beat us.
Yeah, I know.
And then it just got maybe a bit over the top, a bit overconfident. Yeah. Didn't work quite as hard as we did the year before, and
that's all it takes.
I think we lost a couple of guys got injured, and lost a bit of momentum. Yeah,
that's all it takes.
It does.
We finished up fairly high on the ladder in '96, but we also were forced to play both of our finals that we ended up losing because we went out in straight sets against interstate teams on their home ground. I think first was West Coast over in Perth, and then we had to play Brisbane at the Gabba, and we got smashed in both games. Absolutely.
I didn't play the first one,
really
I played the second one.
Yeah. The one against Brisbane, I think we lost by 90-something points, didn't we? Yeah. Not a good result for us.
No.
So, at the end of that year, was Parkin positive about the following year, or was he upset about how we finished up? What was the feeling amongst the team then?
'96 is when all those players retired.
So we lost 97.
Oh, was it '97? Okay.
Yeah.
So we lost about 1,000 games of work.
You're talking like
I think what you're talking about
Williams.
is Sticks, Diesel, Spalding, Hannah, all of these guys at the end of '97.
Madden.
Yeah. Harry Madden.
Harry halfway through '97, funnily enough.
Yes.
Mark Porter came in.
Yes, right.
Oh, Porter.
Halfway through the season.
So we're sort of falling away, those older players.
Which make a huge difference, doesn't it?
And we actually missed out on the finals, but we're losing to Richmond in that final game of the year by a couple of points at Princes Park. And that signified a fairly big drop-off after a premiership in '95 where we only lost 2 games. Within 2 seasons, we're not even playing finals, and I think that was the time to really make some massive wholesale changes.
And '98, I reckon we were probably halfway through '98, and
we'd lost a lot of games.
And there's talk of Parker getting sacked.
There was talk of that. Now you guys apparently saved him, because you basically went to Elliott and people like that saying he's not the problem. We're the problem.
And it was actually the talk from the media that he was going to get the sack that sort of motivated us to finish that year off.
That's right, and we finished off really.
We finished off well. We finished off well. We didn't make the finals, but we actually had a really good strong second half of that, because I think we only won 1 out of the first 7 or 8 games. I think that year.
We're down the bottom.
I think the only game we might have won in was it '97 or '98? I can't remember. Rocco, was that one where we wore the M&M Guernseys?
Did you wear it?
I did wear
Remember that? Yeah, you got one still?
No, I sold it.
Oh, you sold it? What was it worth on eBay?
I'm not sure what I got for it. I'm not a really memorability type of person. So.
And by the way, if you'd like a Dean Rice M&M Guernsey, he's selling them for $500 each.
It's gone.
Have you got your premiership jumper?
No, I sold that one too.
Did you?
Yeah.
But you got your medal.
I got the medal.
Where's that?
It's somewhere locked up. Somewhere. I have no idea. So
that's funny because a lot of players say that. Like,
I got no idea.
If you want to find your medal, it's on eBay. At the moment.
That's it.
Actually, I haven't seen it for a couple of years.
You can't sell that, sure.
I don't sell that. No. But I had my jumpers just sitting in a drawer for years and years. And years.
Gathering moss.
I asked my boys, I said, but do you want these? And they said, no, we don't want them, Dad. So I said, all right. So you go on. Someone else will cherish them and look after them. And
I was speaking to Ange Christou, and he reckons his premiership top, he's got paint all over it because he put it on to paint his house, and he's got specks of paint all over it. I can't believe it, So how's that?
So at the end of '98, we missed the finals, and '99, all of a sudden, we have a resurgence.
Yeah.
Good year. You had a good year too.
Yeah, it's
one of your better ones.
It's funny because you look back on your career. The first part of my career, I played around 100 games straight. Then in the middle part, I had all those injuries.
Yes.
And then at the end of my career, I think I played another 70, 80 games. And 2019 was probably one of my better years at Carlton. More consistent years.
Yeah.
And
it seems like when you had good years, we had good years.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
that's
a bit of a correlation.
Well, what can I say?
In 2001, I retired. The next year,
That's right.
It's gone downhill from
What
there.
else can I say?
Why did you do
I'm
that?
telling you.
If we kept playing, we wouldn't have won the Women's
That's it. That's it.
Oh, well. But 99 was an excellent year. I guess some people think that we overachieved a bit, even making the grand final. But, I mean, you can only beat the opposition that's in front of you.
Yeah.
Do you remember that famous 1999 preliminary final winner over Essendon?
Yeah, 100%.
Now,
Probably one of the best games I've ever played.
did
A
we
lot of
actually
people
go
say
into
that.
that game thinking we're a chance to knock these guys over?
Oh,
They
yeah.
were red-hot favourites.
Well, the Carlton Essendon rivalry.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you're on the ladder or what
Did
you're
Jack
playing
come into
for.
the rooms before the game and
Oh,
reviews us?
always.
Yeah.
He hated us.
Yeah,
And, it didn't matter where you're playing. What you could play on the moon and there'd
Yeah.
still be that competitive
Of course,
nature.
yeah.
So Essendon probably the side they didn't want to play that year
Yeah,
because
of
of all
course.
that rivalry. And it's funny in that game because we started really well,
Yes.
and then they got momentum in the third
Yes.
quarter, and they started chirping off. They
Yes.
started getting really arrogant,
Right.
saying, "Oh, you guys are no good," and blah blah blah.
Right.
Is that what they said on the
Looked
ground?
like that,
100%.
Who's the worst culprit for that?
Can I make a
Warcroft
suggestion?
and
Mercury would have been a bit
Yeah.
like that.
Well,
Mercury, I reckon, would have been.
Seedy and those guys.
They were just they thought they had it won, and I remember we got in at 3/4 time, and then we got after Parker had spoken, and we got together and said, "Can I swear on here? No, I won't swear on here."
Yeah, 100%. Go for
Absolutely,
it.
yeah, go for
We
it.
said, "Fuck these blokes. We need to do something about it because they're getting arrogant," and gave us motivation to get ourselves back into the game.
In other words,
Yeah.
they're talking to you blokes like you.
And there's an
you're no
old
good.
cliche: you let sleeping dogs lie.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
You don't, and they just gave us motivation. They had us. They were gone.
Yeah.
They had us, and we gave us motivation. That break at 3/4 time to get ourselves back into
Yeah.
it, and got the first few goals and got the momentum.
They also did a
won
bit
the-
of a move there. Again, Kuda.
Cooter in the middle.
Yeah,
But it was interesting, even at the start of that game. I think one of the reasons we got off to such a flying start was because Parkin made some moves that Sheedy would never have expected. Glenn Manton kicked the first goal of the
Yes.
game, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
He did.
I mean,
he
even
did.
that was a bit of a surprise to everybody.
Yeah, and it's funny in that final series because we went to Brisbane and got smashed. by
Yes.
Brisbane, and then had the double chance to come back to play West Coast at the MCG in the
And-
semi-final, even
Yeah.
though they'd won their first final because that was.
That's right,
Because
because
the MCG
remember we
had
had to
the
play
policy.
we had to
Yeah.
play a game at the MCG. Yeah,
That's right.
And we
The West
smashed
Coast game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that gave us confidence and momentum.
My
Do you know what
word,
I mean?
yeah.
And then that took us into the Essendon game, started really well, and when you start like that, you get
My
momentum and belief and confidence. And
My word.
What a game!
Yeah,
What
but
a game.
you were right. That the third quarter felt like a bit of an avalanche coming from them, and they took the lead and went into 3/4 time. I think that 3/4 time siren came at a perfect time for us.
100%, yep.
We needed it,
Yep.
and you're right. I think Fraser Brown kicked the first goal of the last quarter, and all of a sudden I think Matthew Lappin might have kicked another one, and all of a sudden we're back in the game.
And Lance Whitnell kicked that goal. from
Lance
the
Whitnell
bench.
Lance-
kicked a beauty.
And
from 50.
Hamill kicked a goal from about 50.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Cooter.
He was looking for- and then
I mean,
Cooter,
Cooter
forget
just
about
was everywhere, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
he was.
One of the best quarters of football you'll ever see anyone play.
Yeah, they say that.
Yeah.
Hey,
And-
does Doggy Brown? What's he say about that tackle, man? Does he like brag about it? Because that was a
mate.
bloody good
I was actually the one who kicked the ball to Wallace. I was the one there. And I
that's right, yeah, it was you.
far away from the back line as I possibly can.
You're doing
And
the
I just
right
bombed
thing.
it out.
That's right, I remember
Well, I
that.
probably should have kicked it towards the boundary.
You were playing sort of half-back flank those days, weren't
and
you?
he straight to Wallace, and for whatever reason, Wallace decided to take on Brownie. We should have just kicked it straight.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he did, and Brownie got
Tried
the
to be a
tackle.
hero.
Yeah.
Come and guts up.
The rest is history.
Mate, they couldn't get past him. Yeah, they couldn't get past him.
Yes.
Mate. That was
And
superb.
Carlton has made the grand final.
Yeah, unbelievable. How did that feel compared to like the '95? We beat. Who did we beat in the last final? It was
Yeah,
North Melbourne.
yeah.
North Melbourne in the prelim.
Prelim, yeah. So you beat them. We beat them by 10 goals, and it was. How did this one feel differently? Like,
I think, like 95, there was, we had a goal. This is what we wanted to do. We failed in 94 and 93, and we.
So there was an inner self-belief.
and the belief and
Business as usual.
business as usual. 99, because we'd beaten Essendon, there was a bit of content. Like that was our grand
so
final.
that you
There
did
was.
have that feeling.
You don't
Because
really
we
look
did
back
a
on
little
it.
bit.
Yeah, you look back on it, but even saying that, we started The
I know.
99.
We did. Started well.
We started pretty well, and then McKernan had gone away from us.
I think Justin Murphy going down with a knee injury killed us.
Yes. And
We relied on it.
We actually were pretty competitive in that game.
I think so.
Yeah.
And do you know what the interesting is about the 99 grand final? Even though we lost by 35 points, do you know how many scoring shots each team had?
So
Exactly the same.
yeah.
They kicked 19-10,
Yeah.
we kicked 12-17.
Yeah.
29 scoring shots each.
Yeah, and I guess you got to give some credit to North Melbourne too, and
Sure.
and they had a bit of confidence and belief that we.
When the game was there to be won, they put the put the pedal to the metal and the foot to the floor, and we didn't have too many answers to come back at them with. But you may be right. I think we might have played our grand final the week before, and we're a little bit satisfied with ourselves.
Because
for
you
having
said
done
it
that.
before. You go, it's probably the best game we've played in, and I think a lot of Carlton supporters feel like that. Like, that's one of the best games.
Yeah.
But
But in the end, you got nothing to show for it.
Yeah, I know.
You've got
I
no
know,
premiership
I know.
cup, have you?
No.
But we stopped Essendon, so that's huge.
Yeah,
for me,
well,
man.
if you want to call that, an achievement.
The next best thing to a premiership is knocking Essendon.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like it's almost. I know we should have won the premiership, but at least we stopped them. Yeah. So, oh, mate, that was
So into the new millennium we go, the year 2000, and again you had a pretty good year, but we fell short again. But this time we didn't make the grand final. Essendon knocked us off in the prelim final.
Yeah, we actually won
2000.
14 games in a row.
Yeah, I know.
I think Essendon at the same time was 16 in a row.
I think you'll find Essendon had won about 20 and we'd won 13 in a row when we met. I think it was the second last round of the year, and I think we lost Cooter and Bradley in the same game.
Cooter done his knee.
Yes.
Bradley.
He went off with a hamstring and he never played again for the rest of 2000.
And we were playing some good footy. Like we were starting to believe again. Like,
They beat us that day, but not by a lot.
We actually started to believe, and the players were getting a bit more experience. And
That was
the
the year that we
disappointment of
could have
99
turned it
sort of
round.
motivated us for 2000. And I remember that we won 12 or 13 in a row, and then we played Western Bulldogs at Princess Park. And Terry Wallace had played that, brought in the flood.
The flood.
And he put
Well, he
all
was
the
the only
players behind the
his
footy.
was the only team that knocked off Essendon that year.
Yeah.
The only loss.
Yeah, and they beat us. They knocked it. We
That's
lost by
right.
about 5 points or something.
There you go.
And then we played Essendon the week after.
Yeah.
So we lost a bit of momentum, a bit of confidence.
Yeah.
And then Essendon beat us pretty easily at the MCG.
Yeah.
And then sort of from there we sort of
Struggled with injuries.
little bit of doubt. And then I think the first final we finished second,
Yeah.
and Melbourne finished third. And we were 20-something points up at three-quarter time, and they ran over top of us.
Yeah.
And knocked us
I remember it. Yeah, I remember it well. Yeah, again, an unexpected loss in a final.
Yeah.
The same thing happened in '94. We lost to Melbourne in '94 when we were second and they were seventh.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
He doesn't care about that.
And then again in
wasn't there.
2000, same thing. We lose to Melbourne in a final unexpectedly. But
It's not a great feeling because you can sense it in the game. Like we were 20-something points up, and there's not much you can do about it out on the ground. You're trying to do things, and you can just sense the momentum shift. And I reckon Lance kicked the goal, got us back in front.
Yep.
And we, there's a bit of confidence come back in. Then they got a goal and sort of fell away after that type of thing. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's interesting, man. Like you can feel that the momentum switching, but there's nothing you can do about it.
You're trying your hardest out there to shift it, but they've got their tails up. They're just running. They're doing things that they probably don't normally do.
So when you're up by like 4 or 5 goals, right, and then they start kicking a goal, do you start thinking like, all right, I'll tell you what I'm thinking as a supporter. I'm thinking, all right, we need a goal, and we can just stop it a little bit. Are you thinking that in there?
Well, you're just trying to do your part to see whether you can change something. And you're finding games, there's momentum shifts in the season, and there's momentum shifts in games. And if you can do something in a game that can shift the momentum, then everyone around you'll start getting a bit of belief back. So that may be, a big smother or a chase down the wing where you get a hold on the ball. Those little things actually can change momentums in games.
100%.
And you as a player, you're trying to do that. You're trying to do everything you can, but when you got an opposition that's just they're playing with
They're trying to do exactly the same thing.
they're playing with confidence. They can sense it themselves.
Yeah.
They're on. They've got their tails up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's hard to change that. And from a coaching point of view and a player, you're trying to do within a game. You either slow the game down, take the ball away
Change
from
the tempo.
change the tempo, or whatever. It's really hard to change momentum.
Momentum's a big thing in footy, isn't it?
It is.
We see it all the time where teams have that bit of a run and You know that it won't last for the whole game, but while they've got that
You gotta
run,
get-
you've got to try and stop them
Yeah,
in their
100%.
track.
Yeah.
So 2001, is that when everything started going downhill for Carlton? End of 2001?
It was for me.
Yeah.
Well, we still
Because
made the
we had the-
finals. We still made the finals, but
Yeah.
we got knocked out by Richmond in a semi-final in the
Right.
second week.
In
we
2001.
we won our elimination final from memory against Adelaide, and then we played Richmond in a semi
Yeah, we did,
in a first semi-type final.
But then there's
I was
2002 when the draft picks and everything.
No, that was at the end of 2001 into 2002.
Yeah.
So Dean played his last game in 2001 against
Geelong. Oh, that's St Kilda.
St Kilda.
That's
right,
St Kilda,
that's
yeah,
right,
you
you're
did
all
against St
sorry.
Kilda.
That's right, St Kilda.
Did you know that you were pretty much coming to the end at that stage, or not?
Yeah, my body was shutting down. And that's my 2001 season. I remember the first game we played 2001. It was against West Coast. Oh, Fremantle, in Western Australia.
Fremantle.
Yeah.
We won by a point, I think.
Yeah, and I was playing that game, and I was struggling to change direction. I had osteitis pubis.
Oh, in the groins, right?
And I could feel that was really struggling with it. So my whole 2001 season was just a struggle.
And does that put additional strain on your knees too when you've got that sort of an issue?
Yeah, maybe. But it was just, I couldn't do the things I was used to doing.
Yeah.
And even though I wanted to, and I believed that I could keep going, and I remember, because it was Wayne's first year, Wayne Britton's first year.
Yes,
He
it
took it
was.
over from Parko, and he grabbed me aside. At least he did the right thing and took me up to the Carlton Social Club, and we had lunch and dinner, and he said to me, he goes, this is your last year. We're not going to renew your contract.
Right.
It was about 6-7 weeks out of the start of the season. I really appreciate it.
Before the start of the season?
No, it's just towards the end.
Towards the end.
About 6 or 7 games to
Right,
go.
okay.
And he goes, look, you're probably not in my calculations for the seniors, but he did say to me, he goes, but what I'll do, the last game of the year, we'll guarantee you'll senior games so you can say goodbye to the fans and stuff like that.
So they do things like that.
I thought at the time, that's really courageous of you to do that, because there might be a chance that we might miss finals, whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought, I really appreciate that. And I told my family this is going to happen. And then about a week later,
didn't happen.
No, he rang me, and I was in the car, and he goes, look, I heard you've been talking about that I've guaranteed the last game. And I said, yeah, that's the impression I got. He goes, no, it's not what I'm saying. I think he said it not realising what he had said, without understanding that there are other people on match committee and there are other things that can happen.
He might have gone a bit over his head there.
Just said the wrong thing at the wrong time. And I said, okay, no worries.
So you end up finishing up in about round 15, I think it was.
Yes, and I played my last ever game for Carlton in the twos, walking off the ground in the final out of Port Melbourne in the reserve.
Wow.
In the reserves. But your last senior game was against St Kilda.
Kilda,
Yeah.
Did we win that game?
I think we did,
Yeah, I think we might have.
Yeah.
So, a great career comes to an end, and by the end of that year, you knew you were done, and you knew that they were going to finish you up.
Yeah.
You were 33 roughly at that time, so I mean, it's not like you finished up early.
No.
Not too many players get to play till 33.
I played 16 years.
Yeah,
16 years.
It's a long period, isn't
Well,
it?
the average career is 4 years.
Yeah.
Exactly. People don't realise that.
right.
Like in average football only lasts like 4
Absolutely.
years. Everyone looks at the 10 and 15 year careers. But
And if you hadn't had all those knee injuries and whatnot, you could have very well played 300 games.
Yeah.
close to,
Yeah.
Well, you paid how many? 200 and...
34.
234. But I'll also look at the fact that maybe it extended my career because I had 2 years where I wasn't that bash and
That's
crash on
true
my
too.
body too.
That's true too.
Yeah.
True.
So
And just quickly, what did you do straight after finishing at AFL level? You went and played a bit more somewhere else, or
yeah, I
coached,
played locally.
Yep.
Because my mate was coaching
Locally, as in around here. By the
Yeah,
way, we're
Eastern
in
Footy
beautiful Berwick right
Yeah,
now. Look at
that's
the
it.
beautiful surroundings behind us.
in the Eastern Footy League. It was
Yep.
a team called Scoresby.
Scoresby,
In
yes.
Division 1
Not
Eastern.
far from
and Dean
Roval.
Gregg was the who I played at St Kilda with. He was the coach.
Yes.
He'd lost his leg the season
Really?
prior. Yeah, he broke his leg in a game, and
he lost
He
it?
got compartment syndrome in the hospital.
Oh, no.
But he
Far
continued
out.
coaching. And he
From
rang
memory,
me
I
and
think
he
he was
said,
number
"Look, can you come
27.
and help us out and play?" I said,
Was he
"I'll
number
come."
27 at St Kilda?
Yeah.
Thought so.
So they actually gave him the choice. Either 10, 20 operations, and we can try and there's only a 20% chance we can save the leg, or you can chop it off now. He said, "Chop it off now." But he got
Mate.
paid out for it though. there was a bit of neglect on the
Tell
hospital.
you what.
Yeah, but still far out. I think.
So I played a year there with Scoresby. Then from there I went down and coached a team called Wonthaggi in the
Oh yeah,
old,
down in
old
Gippsland.
Gippsland Footy League
Yep.
for 2 years.
Did you help set up the desalination plant down there?
No, that's exactly, it was a beautiful part of the world. And then from there I came and coached 2 years at Old Melburnians, the Amateurs.
Okay, yeah. Did you have some good success there?
No.
No?
They were a club that predominantly were B grade or even A grade,
Right.
but just couldn't get the
How do
the
these
old
things
boys
come
to play.
about? Do you approach them? Do they approach
No,
you? What
I
happens?
was a bit of both, yeah. A bit of
Okay.
both.
It's who you know, not what you know, or how good you are?
Yeah, no, I was a bit of that too. So, but
Yeah, sure.
But then, end of I think it was 2006, I got a job with the AFL, and I stopped coaching.
That's
so I worked
right.
for the AFL for 15 years.
What was that role that you had there?
I was the training education manager for the VCFL, which is the Victorian Country Footy League, and then they merged together with the AFL Victoria, and I became a development manager.
Okay.
Yeah, for a region.
Enjoy that?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, so I finished there in 2019, just before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And it was funny because they were offering redundancies at the time, and I'd sort of been there 15 years, and
Yep.
so they were going in a different direction, and I'd probably had enough, and so I said,
Take
I'll
the
take the
redundancy.
redundancy, and I'd been there 15 years. So
Yeah.
so I
Lucky
paid
you
out
did,
pretty
because then
well.
COVID
And
comes along.
3 months later, COVID hit, and all the people I worked with got the sack.
Yeah, that's
They were all
timing.
ringing me going, you've been the luckiest person in the
That's
world.
timing.
Take the money first. Is that the lesson there?
Yes.
You also did a bit of coaching for the AFLW.
Yeah. So I was coaching at North Melbourne with Scott Gowans in 2018, 2019.
AFLW, sir.
That came to an end because of COVID, because he got moved on because they couldn't afford to, had to align roles there.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
Darren Crocker got the role then. And then Bailey was playing at
Yep.
St Kilda. He finished 2000. So all the AFL connection was finished at exactly the same time in 2019. So
It's funny you should mention Bailey, your son. Now, I mean, he went through to the Carlton Academy and was, I guess, looking forward to possibly becoming a Carlton player. Did you have your eyes set on him becoming a Carlton player rather than St Kilda?
100%.
Yeah.
So what happened? Tell us what happened there,
look,
briefly.
He I guess St Kilda's point of view, they were really good at selling their club and what they were. Ahmed Baines was part of there, and they used to get Bailey in to do his review when he's playing at the Stingrays, and they gave him work experience there. And
So he qualified for both clubs. Is that what? Because you played over 100 games at both clubs.
Yeah, but he chose St Kilda first. And
So they must have done a better selling job of coming over.
They did, and Carlton did some good stuff. Like Sauce was the recruiting guy at the time. We went to Carlton a few times, a few games. The final thing for Bailey was that even at draft camp, the clubs get him in and have a chat to him. Even though St Kilda done so much for him, they still got him in to talk for an hour and a half.
Okay.
And showed interest, whereas all Carlton did was just give him away from the other side of the thing. So he just thought then that St Kilda were more interested than Carlton. So he rang me from the draft game and goes, "Dad, I've made my decision." I said, "Hang on, mate, we haven't even talked about it." But it's his life. It's his decision. You know what I mean? And part of me thought,
you know what Carlton did wrong? Instead of calling it the Peter Dean Academy, they should have called it the Dean Rice Academy.
It was
obviously.
The other decision was if he had played at Carlton, he had to move out of home. And he had to go and live closer to Carlton. Whereas he was at Moorabbin or
it was close,
it was only a 20-minute drive.
Yeah.
So he could stay at home.
Convenient.
And all his mates were around him. And
of course.
at the end of the day, it was the wrong decision for him because he should have gone to Carlton. I reckon Carlton would have got the better out of him.
So did St Kilda live up to all of the hype and expectation that they put on him? No.
The same things they did to me, and
Promised the world and delivered an atlas, right?
I was reliving what had happened to me years prior. And I told Brett Ratton, who was a coach at the time, and who's the general manager there now?
You mean Simon Lethway?
Simon. We were in a meeting together, and he's exit interview, and I told him, I said, I'm experiencing the exact same thing that happened to me 20 years prior. And Simon said, look, we won't talk about that now. We'll just focus on Bailey and not worry about the club.
Something's changed, but something's never changed.
St Kilda's culture hasn't changed that much over the years.
But Bailey's doing all right now. He's overseas.
Yeah, he's overseas. He's doing a college
So
degree.
how many before we go into that, how many games did he end up playing?
Played 11.
11
games.
And so then, how did the whole overseas thing come about?
Well, he obviously got delisted in 2019.
Yep.
He became that disillusioned with the game because of things they were telling him. And like his last 11 games in 2019, he's playing at Sandy.
Right.
He was emergency for the Saints. And he was carryover emergency. They used to have carryover emergencies where he couldn't play anywhere. He had to go with the team.
Yes.
So he weren't even playing.
He couldn't even sell himself. No, he's emergency. They kept telling me, I'm going to give you a game. I said, give him an opportunity to prove himself. And they never did. So he became that disillusioned that he never played the game ever again. And he decided, he always loved American sports. And he always had an interest in gridiron. And was talking to a few people and said, Dad, again he came in and he goes, Dad, I'm going overseas. I said, hey, I'm over here. And he goes, yeah, I want to go and punt. In America.
And you said, have you got a TAB account? No, not that sort of punt.
No. And he and I said to him, I'll keep repeating to myself, I said, mate, it's a testament of your character to walk out of one sport and to be where you're at, decide to take up a new sport that you never even played the game, go to the other side of the world in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of their winter, and to achieve what you've achieved so far. Because he 3 months he wasn't even going to school. He's just sitting in his room in another country. No one didn't know anyone. Cold outside.
Must have been pretty lonely.
Oh, he was lonely. He wanted to come back. So he's
good on him.
Yeah, no, he's
good on him. It just shows, man. You just don't know what's around the corner.
100%.
You just don't want to around the corner.
Well, we wish him all the best. He's obviously doing pretty well over there.
Yeah, it's good.
Excellent. Excellent.
You had a fantastic career with the Blues.
Yeah.
And with the Saints.
Yes.
In fact, you almost played an even amount for both clubs. In fact, I think we just got over the line. I think you played 118 for us and 116 for them. Is that right?
100%.
Total of 234 games.
Yeah.
How many goals?
85 goals. 42 for Carlton, 43 for St Kilda.
Nah, he's a freak, don't worry, man.
But, look, we love you at Carlton and we'll always treasure the memories that you gave us. And
mate, you were tough. I'm going to say this, man. Like, you were tough, man. That's what we're lacking now, man. We're lacking that, like, the toughness, man.
We don't see players even built like you these days, do we, really?
Nah. If I was playing these days, I probably wouldn't get a game.
I don't know about that.
But yeah, no,
But you were tough and hard at the ball. You were a great mark, but you were quick too. Like off the mark, that must have been something you prided yourself on, being able to take off pretty quickly.
So something. I was just doing things that I got on the ball with.
Well, after having so much adversity, so many setbacks with knee injuries and that, to come back and show the perseverance that you did and play at the highest level and then end up playing in a premiership team is just testament to your character. And I know I speak for basically every Carlton person that remembers you playing the game. We love you at Carlton, and you can certainly be very proud of your achievements, mate.
Thanks, mate.
And thanks very much for joining us on the Jumper Punch.
Thanks, brother. You are now a legend of the Jumper Punch.
Yeah, how's that? And as we always say when we cheer on the team at the footy, what do we say?
Go
Blues.
Let's give it a big one. Go Blues!
Pain leads to ascending till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I will fight, never weary. I wanna be legendary. Till I'm dead and buried deep within a cemetery. I will fight, never weary. I wanna be legendary. Coming out of the gate, I'll be last place, that's alright. I don't work at a fast pace, I'm a steady horse creeping up straight.